I feel like there's a Big Ten attitude kind of looking down the nose. And then I was looking up Matt Cassel's years at USC and Pete Carroll, and I'm like, my God. I mean, I was around, but you forget how ridiculous it was. Right. You guys had 1 year where you went 6-6, and you came here,
right?
Las Vegas Bowl.
Las Vegas Bowl.
And then from there, it was ridiculous. Like Carroll, I think between 2002 and 2008 was 82-9.
It was absurd, and it was really at the height of a dynasty that was going on. We went to the Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, where I left the year that they went to that final Rose Bowl against Texas. But, I mean, to talk about a school that when I first got there was obviously rebuilding, it was under Hackett, and then Pete Carroll coming in his first season going 6-6, and then just to see the trajectory of that program take off and all the talent that we had, whether it was Carson Palmer or Troy Polamalu, you can go down the list, Mike Williams, Reggie Bush, Lindell White, and the ability for Pete Carroll to go anywhere in the country and recruit who he wanted to USC was impressive. And I don't think that you'll see the depth like we had in this game that we have today with the transfer portal and all the different options that players have to get out of certain situations. But he could stack up that depth chart. So as soon as one of those starters left, the next guy stepped in and was just as good.
So everyone's got some money now around college football, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of it there.
And a lot of people have bought themselves to the table. I think many more will. So that does make it harder for Southern Cal. Is there another challenge that you think Lincoln Riley has that could keep him from being a 10, 11-win program, being at the top of the Big Ten, competing for national championships?
Well, it was really interesting. When you talk about last year, yes, it was a disappointment in terms of what their ultimate record was. But in 5 of those games, they lost by one possession games or 7 points or less, right? The Penn State game, at the end of the game, they're up 7 points. It's less than a minute to go on a 2-minute drive, and Penn State hits 2 fourth and 15-yard conversions in that game. The Minnesota game, they block a punt, go down, score with no time on the clock. So these are winnable games that they've just got to somehow find a way to get over that hump and win these close games. And a great case in point would be Illinois last year. They had a similar type outcomes, but they won those games where USC, you could easily look at what they did last year and the losses that they had. They could have been an 11-win team.
Quarterback is interesting because Jade Maiba actually started here. Hawaiian, played high school in Vegas, comes to UNLV, is the backup, then has a really good year. What do you think of him? And then I guess they have a super high-profile freshman, but is the Big Ten the kind of place and the kind of schedule SC plays where you can roll a true freshman on the field?
Well, it's interesting because I think Maiava proved enough last year, particularly in that bowl game late in the year, that he can play at a high level. And I think a full year of being the star, knowing you're the star, not splitting reps in camp, and because probably Moss Miller got a majority of those last year in camp, and now to see him. And I also think because of his skill set, the dual threat ability that he has, that'll help this offensive unit as well. And you know that Lincoln Riley, though, if there is any type of struggling going on, he's not going to wait to pull that trigger and put the young guy in.
It's the voice of Matt Cassel. You had an amazing NFL career. You played 14 years. You had at least 3 where you were starting. You didn't play a whole lot. I think I looked up 113 attempts at USC.
I had like 32 attempts.
Would you have stayed in this era? There's almost no way you would have stayed, right?
There's probably no way. Yeah, because I was stuck behind Carson Palmer. He decided to come back for his senior year, which put me back to competing for that job my redshirt junior year. And it was one of the more frustrating times of my life because I felt like I could play, but I didn't have that opportunity. And in this environment that we have today, you could leave whenever you feel like, you know what, right after season and right after spring ball. So I would have probably tried to see if I could get an opportunity somewhere else.
Hell, you can leave after game 7 or 8.
Yeah.
We saw some guys do that. We mentioned Millen Ross getting frustrated.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. I give you too much credit, right? Playing that much at USC. After you were done, I don't remember the whole process of I don't think you got invited to the combine, but you must have had a pro day, workouts. When did you first get the realization that hey, you know what? I have a chance to make the NFL, even though I didn't log a lot of playing time here. And then you wound up being a 7th-round pick.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. I took a shot in the dark. I went in and talked to my QB coach, Carl Smith. I talked to a few other people, and they're like, Cass, I think it's time that you look for another profession.
No!
Yeah, I literally said that to me. I was like, man, that stings. But I just believed in myself and said, you know what? We've got the pro day coming up. I knew I wasn't going to get invited to the combine. I never started a game in college. But I figured I could go out and at least display some of my skill set in front of all these prominent scouts and everybody else. And so I went out for the pro day, and it was funny. I walk in, and they're like, "Who are you again?" I was like, "I'm Matt Cassel. I don't have you on my list." I was like, "Well, I'm a senior, and they told me I could come to this."
Oh, my Lord.
So I went out, did all the physical drills, and then I threw really well at the end. And at that point, the scouts came in, and they were asking me, "Well, tell us your story," because they didn't obviously have any idea.
Huh.
And I said I was stuck behind a Heisman Trophy winner and Matt Leinart and Carson Palmer. Played behind 2 Heisman trophies, so maybe that makes me the 3rd best quarterback. But at that point, it sparked a little interest. I had private workouts. None of them, by the way, were by the New England Patriots. And all I wanted an opportunity to do, honestly, was to get into a camp to try to prove myself as a free agent. I was just hoping to get into a camp. And the next thing I know, last day of the draft, I get a phone call from Bill Belichick saying that we're going to take you next in the 7th round. And I thought he was kidding. I was like, is somebody messing with me right here? He's like, no, this is Coach Belichick. So it was a pretty special day, just considering how my college career had gone, and then to come to the realization that they were going to give me an opportunity.
Matt Cassel's on Cofield Company. He's working with NBC Sports, covering the Big Ten. All right, we mentioned sort of 3 guys that you have connections to. So let's talk about the 3, because it's funny how stories come together. First of all, Belichick at 73, I think?
73.
Coaching in college.
Yeah, I never thought that day was going to come, to be honest with you. I thought he was just going to wait for that next opportunity in the NFL. When the news broke, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I wasn't shell-shocked like most people. But I know that he was a ball coach. And we were out in Washington last year, and his son, Steven Belichick, was their defensive coordinator. And it was amazing to see, because I saw Bill out there multiple times when we covered the game. And he had his own office. He was involved. He's watching film one day when I walk in. And so you knew Bill Belichick, he's a ball coach. Period. And if that opportunity would arise, he'd probably go out there and take it. And now, looking back, I could see why, and maybe he even got more of an introduction into the college football game, being around the Huskies last year. And so it kind of made a little bit more sense, but still, I never thought I was going to see him back in college.
Pete Carroll, 73, now here in Vegas, coaching the Raiders. That was a bit of an upset, because I figured they're going to get a younger coach who's going to be ready to go for 6 or 7 years. He wants to win now. And he said it yesterday. He says, we're going to win a lot of games. I've won 10 games a year for like 20 years.
Right.
He basically said, I guarantee we're going to win.
I love it.
People here love that spirit, because they're tired of kind of hearing about, hey, the rebuild or tank, and eventually they're going to get the quarterback. He wants to win now.
And that's Pete Carroll to his core. He competes in everything he does. And you talk about, we want to get younger and have somebody for somebody. He's the most energetic, positive human I've ever been around. And at 73, he probably would run circles around a lot of these younger coaches. And so he's got a great understanding to how to win games. He's got a great foundation to get that defense and offense playing complementary football. And then he goes out and gets Geno Smith, which I thought was a huge, huge win for this organization this offseason.
Tom Brady, owner and kind of undefined role, at least giving a lot of advice. I don't know if he's running the Raiders, but how about that? How about him as a broadcaster / football executive?
It's an interesting dynamic, right? And we saw all the different things that they put on him about not being able to go and do the interviews and the production meetings because he is an owner. I think that was something he was passionate about, and I've known him for a long time, about wanting to get into ownership at some point. But at the same time, he loves the idea of being around the game. And he said, after season, I talked to him, he said it was so much fun being a part of the game, being there on game day. There's nothing quite like that. And then being able to talk ball. And so, he's one of those guys that is just going to go and continue to do and stay busy. And so this is just another aspect of the great Tom Brady.
So for people listening right now, I'm man enough to admit this. Matt Cassel's a good looking guy. He's got a look. He's got the jacket, the hair slicked back. Tom Brady, though.
Yeah,
what is going on here? He's in Italy at this wedding, and
he's getting younger.
How does it?
I don't know.
Amazing.
I mean, I do want to know what kind of nutritional plan you on. What's your cook making you? I mean, what kind of skincare routine you got? I mean, it's unbelievable because it's always funny too when you go and you look at that picture of him at the combine, which has become one of those memes. But then now you look at him, and everything he has on social media is just him with his shirt off, looking like he's 20 years younger. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? No, but he's always taking great pride in himself and also his body. So it doesn't surprise me.
Never stop competing, right?
I mean, the guy was 45 playing at a really, really high level, which is incredible in today's game, especially with the pounding that these quarterbacks take and the punishment that you get in, year out.